Aloha, I'm Anne-Marie Kirk. I'm from the Livable Hawaii Kai Hui, where I serve as a board member, and I'm also on the Cultural and Natural Resource Committee. Thank you for being with us. I'm here today with Leighton Tseu, and we're continuing our discussion on the Mano, or shark. In our first program, we talked about ancestral spirits and what's happening in Hawaii today, and the links of families to these sharks or Mano and that Hawaiian cultural perspective. It was a really interesting conversation we're having, and we wanted to continue it and really talk about sharks as gods, or what we call kumupa'a. And I'm not the expert, Leighton is, so Leighton, you're on. Tell me about kumupa'a.
Oh, mahalo. I'm no expert. I just heard from my kupuna.
Well, I forgot to say you are a man of the sea with many years of experience on the ocean, and we kind of covered that in our first show, but I didn't want to, if you just tuned in this time, this is a very well-established ocean person, and we want to continue this conversation about the Mano. So
you mentioned kumupa'a. It's very powerful. The Hawaiians use that kumupa'a because it relates to the shark gods. And in order to become a god, according to the Kumulipo, it was passed on from birth of Po, from darkness. And as it came about, it had different districts. Like for what's in our previous show, we talked about the Komaihoali'i. He is the first shark god on Haumea. And then all these offsprings, and all these offsprings had different districts.
when you say districts, what are you, parts of the island? Or,
yes.
or every island?
Some from in Wailua, some around in Waikiki, some are from Maui. So they had names from that district. Someone gave them a name. Mm-hmm. And it was all for respect. And so what I've heard, these special sharks, they were fed by special kahu who believed in it and did that. So,
and kahu being priest.
A priest, yes. And, or a family member who believes in it. The problem happens today is that we have lost that respect, and the stories has been never told again. Mm-hmm. And it needs to be come back so we can educate people. I mean, a lot of people think, these gods, sharks, Mano, they think, you're not all there. But it was there before we were here. Mm-hmm. Before we even came around, they had kumupa'a. They were here. In the chants, it was written before anything, any Westerners come here. And then when I see these shark names, and then I learn the districts they come from and the meanings, it's deep.
Can you tell me or share with some of these districts or some of these shark names?
Well, there's several of them that I have here. And, of course, they come from all over. Like the guy I have one right here called Ku'awakea. Ku'awakea is from the Big Island. He is a shark god in Kona. Mm-hmm. I mean, examples like that. The Galaman Kaula. They have it so many different districts. I got a probably right here, most of the sharks I have here, at least I got pretty close to about 40 names here that is known of the areas. There's some of them we're not sure of, mm-hmm. but we try to trace it down as close as we can to the districts they come from. Because people the practitioners who really studied, Uncle Maxwell, I miss him. Uncle Maxwell was good. I mean, he believed. And Tip Kupuna led to keep it on. They're like the fire. And then as we share the knowledge, and then we have practitioners that are like, Pua. She identifies some of these names.
And when you say Pua, who are you?
Oh, I'm sorry, Pua Kanakoli Kanahele. She identified the names. Mm-hmm. She was so excited, and she started to study the names. So when you get practitioners like that who can get involved deep, so we can understand and pass on this knowledge.
You know, I love that idea of passing on knowledge, because something that happens in the Hawaiian community sometimes is that we don't want to share, or we think we're not supposed to share. And I think when we don't share, we actually lose so much. When someone passes, it's like a library passing of cultural knowledge.
That's correct.
And, you know, we look at these names because these names are attached to a district on every island, and they're attached to families.
Yes.
And that, you know, when people hear stories of, you know, like I've heard it, my family used to feed the sharks. It's not a mythology. They actually did that.
That's correct.
And, you know, we need to remember that this is a sacred relationship between the Mano and your family.
And also, that's our culture. That was given to us. That came from the beginning. Like anything else, you know, when in each culture they had something special. And we have many specials. We have a lot of amakua. I mean, you know, the pu'eo, and, you know, you got a lot of manu, different birds. And there's so much. When it comes to the sea, because of Kanaloa and because I'm an ocean man, and we're surrounded.
And again, I'm
Yes,
jumping in here, but that
but-
amakua is that ancestral or family spirit of one who has passed before and then
Yes.
inhabits that, whether it be a mano, which is a shark, pu'eo, owl, or whatever your family
Yes.
spirit is going to be. So it's not something out there. It's actually a tie you have. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that
Okay.
is very correct. Even for myself, as a mariner, a surfer, a sailor, and spend a lot of time in the ocean, sometimes you can feel him. When you're out there and you get a goosebump that comes from someone who you know he's there. Or just before you go fishing, you go diving, maybe you see a lot of, some people pule, some people do a chant, you know, but you don't learn these things. They have to be taught, you have to be passed on. And I didn't learn this until an adult.
Wow.
You see, I learned it from another adult. But, you know, but my father gave me the introduction, how deep it goes. But he didn't speak the language, and in our time, everything was Western. We know that Kamehameha, ROTC. You know, we knew nothing about the kingdom. I mean, there was no education of who we were and what our beliefs were. And now that we have both sides now, but we still need to somehow get a balance to bring the spiritual value back of Amakua and the respect.
Right, and I think that idea of what we just talked about sharing that information, it ties you to your past, and also it guides you to your future. If you start to understand, your place in this story of like the Mano, if it is an Amakua for your family.
Right.
But when we look at the Mano too, I mean, we're talking about Kumupa'a, which is the shark gods, but there's also a class of Ali'i in the Mano. Can you talk about and share with us about that?
Well, see, there are the Mano of the Ali'i class are like the Ali'is on land. Mano in his realm of Moana, the ocean, he becomes Ali'i there. And we do not go into his realm as he don't come onto our land. So that's the balance. And what it make it even more, the connection, what it connect is during the Kahiku, during time of O, and that was part of the challenge of an Ali'i. He had to go and actually lasso a shark, and most of the time the pictures I seen, the drawings were looking like a great white. And we had to actually lasso him and get on him and ride him.
Gosh.
I mean, that was part of it. I saw one, every time I look at this one, I don't know who the artist was, but there's a beautiful artwork where you can see an Ali'i, the Mano is between the hull of the canoe, of the double O canoe, and he lassoed it and he's going to get on ride it. But that was part of the training.
Wow.
And so that becomes a connection again between the Ali'i and the ocean and the Ali'i and the land.
And we talk about the biggest Ali'i in the ocean.
Yes.
Would be the great white? Would it be the great white shark?
Yes.
Okay.
That's Kamoli. The great white is most powerful of them all. And everybody knows that. I mean, even the marine biologists and throughout the world, he's known. He's very well known. And we, for some reason of time during Kahiko's, he must have been around more often than today.
Well, our waters have changed a lot.
Yes.
And,
So
the migration of fish, where our land, the development of land and the runoff it's brought into the water has changed fishing grounds, has changed fishing areas. And we see more people in the water and, with doing different activities. And I think when they're out there, that idea of, some are very fearful of the mano or the shark.
Yes.
What do you think about what's happening today in our waters? So if you look at the shark god and how they were revered in our culture, and to a point where they are today where everyone just fears them and they don't really understand the culture. That's a big question.
That is a huge question because most people won't understand it. They won't. The only ones going to really understand Mano is those who take him seriously and have no fear. Mm-hmm. Because you cannot see him. And because of, like they say, Mano, if you're on a boogie board laying down and you're all fours hanging, you look like a monk seal.
Yeah.
You see, the indications like that. So, but it's a hard question because how do you change it? It's hard to change, and most of these people getting attacked on Maui, tourists.
But they're also in
locals.
But you said those were the breeding grounds of the tiger sharks, right?
That's why they get the most attacks is around Maui. And you got to remember that that's where Kohala comes to. That's where the whale comes in. Mm-hmm. That whole area, Kanaloa, that's the house. Mm-hmm. Kanaloa, Koholave. Everybody know Koholave, but the real name is Kanaloa. And that's why Kohala on my shirt, he comes there. That's where he hanaus. What's the she hanaus?
Gives birth.
Gives birth, yeah. That's why she gives birth. So you got to look, we Hawaiians, we look at areas of nature and see how would we react. It's like the Indians. Look at the bears, how they do in the forest. Mm-hmm. Same thing. And you have to respect it. But when you lose the respect of Mother Nature, it ain't coming back.
Right, because it seems it's kind of a troubling time in the oceans of Hawaii.
Yes.
What can we do, Leighton?
Well, we can do many things, but it'll take a million of years. We know we're going to get it back to it with from day one.
A million years, okay.
A million years because it ain't going to happen. Now, the way the thing is, but I hope that with the generation now, they are more aware, and the knowledge that they're sharing in the schools now, and the knowledge about Hawaii, mm-hmm. how it was a kingdom, and the beliefs that they had. Today, the Western ideas are here. It's here too. It's here. Ain't going to move.
Yeah.
So now we have to get a balance. We need to get the balance so they can understand and let it go. There's so many, those challenges are hard because, again, we're bucking money.
Money.
Kala.
Okay, that always makes it difficult.
Yeah.
But, if we talk about getting that balance back, part of it is what you're talking about today, which is the Mano of the different districts, over 40 names that encompasses all the different islands. I have a question regarding those sharks that are out there in those different districts. Do you believe they're still there?
Yes, I do. I believe they will be there to eternity. They'll pass on like us. My grandson will pass on to his grandson. They are born here. So one will carry the cocoa of that original. Mm-hmm. So they're here. They always will be here. They'll be here longer than any of us will be here. That's their home. And we still don't understand their home. Well, the scientists don't understand mm-hmm. this house, but we do. Mm-hmm. We respect them to the highest. And of course, the Hawaiians also use Mano for different things. Like, don't forget, they made weapons with Mano.
Right.
They used the skins for pahu and mm-hmm. for the war drums at the house. They created a lot using it. But the key to all of that, they asked permission.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Asking permission.
Asking permission. Whoever needed to make a drum or to make weapons, there was someone would go out and do the chants and do the protocols, mm-hmm. and then Lavaya, the fisherman, would go out and go get it, and for that purpose. And it, you know, I mean, so there was that we lost. We lost that asking.
It's funny because some people talk about protocol, but beyond protocol is the right intent, right?
Correct.
And the respect and responsibility. It's not
Correct.
just going through the motions, but it's actually
Yeah.
respecting that creature
Yes.
because you take their energy into your life. Is that?
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, you ever seen where disrespect ever was awarding? There's none.
No.
He'll bite you. And exactly what's happening right now, he's biting us. This kid's coming back.
Yeah.
He's coming back. He's hungry. You know, we're protecting the monk seal. You know the monk seal. I mean, all living animals, fabulous. They are creatures, all created creatures. But the monk seal, he eats the limu, he eats the opi, he eats the fish, the crustaceans. He eats everything. And the only guy eat him is Mano. That's natural. And then, you know, they say it's in, you know, it's in, some say that, you know, they have to protect it because that's, you know, the numbers are low. Hey, when the dinosaurs disappeared, I don't miss them. I mean, you know, that's nature. You cannot help. And we cause a problem. I know they're trying to fix a problem.
Right.
I understand trying to fix, they're trying their best to fix the problem.
Right. But there's an imbalance going on.
That's
And I know
correct.
they talk about bringing it in balance, but when you have monk seals coming closer to shore, big things follow them. When you have
correct.
sea turtles, we have so many of them. I'm in the ocean a lot and I see them. I love seeing them. But I also am aware that there's things out there that want to eat them.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And they're the best. It tastes good. You know. So, you know, so you're attracting them.
Right.
You know, there's a, you know, there was a holy fish a house outside by Ever Beachside, and there's 2 monk seals out there. All the fish gone.
Just because of these 2 monk seals.
That's it. That's where they feed. You see.
How do we correct this? How do we change it? How do we make it right? A million years, you said, right?
Yeah, a million years. You're gonna have to sit down with the scientists and figure out. Like I say, we just have to go accordingly to the way it is. It's hard to change. No matter all this, the scientists, I know they're doing their best to make a change, but they want to protect everything. You know, every living matter. If they could, they'll protect it. But Mother Nature, culture, and we have on just in the state of Hawaii. If you want to see an example of how you can destroy a culture, you can take a good look. You can look around, but we can't stop it. So how do we control it? We got to educate people more and more and get the respect back. And until we do that, then we might be able to see changes. But it's going to take a long time. Too much money, too much kuleana when it comes to, you know, taxes. People got to eat. People got to need a job. I mean, you got to look at all these new problems. In the days, the old days, we didn't have those problems. Yeah.
And I keep thinking about these 40 sharks around these different districts of all the islands. They're out there.
Yes.
Some are being taken care of by families, some aren't. And as far as doing any kind of cultural practice, are you aware of, or?
I've heard, but I'm not. I can't, you know, really give you a definite answer. But I know there are people there who do it. You hear the stories, you know. And Uncle Maxwell, he knew a lot of them, you know. So depends. But I have not been with any family who actually feed, you know, who call upon. But I've heard there are, especially big guys, they come here and he come and they feed. And some are known even to they come and feed and they pet them.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but that's like the pet.
Right, it's part of the
It's
family,
part
right?
of the family, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you hear these stories, you know, and I mean, the stories are very minute. So, you know, and of course, people question you, you know, you know, you how's that one guy on the other side of the fence saying, oh no, they ain't happening, you know, they don't believe.
Right, but I hope in this conversation we can open up the understanding of, like, when you see someone on the news and says, you know, my family's amakua is the shark, and then that's just kind of the sound bite, but there's no background to it. So I hope a show like this can help people understand that there's way deeper meaning, and it goes all the way back to the creation and the Hawaiian creation chant, and that they're all tied together. And so we've got to connect all these pieces together, because that'll help us to understand, maybe in that understanding, we can create a positive change for our community, not only on land, but in the ocean. So for you personally, when you're out on the ocean, you do everything in the ocean.
Yes.
Would you mind sharing, if it's not too personal, your protocol or what you do is your practice when you're going to go in the ocean?
I learned from Kupuna one important when I'm to Mokumana, one of the most important chants for me is the Kanaloa chant. And whenever I go on a voyage or I'm by myself, I go down to the kai, like, hey, just yesterday, New Year's, I was on the ocean. What did I do? Did the Kanaloa chant.
Wow.
You know, I mean, it become my prayer when I go to the ocean. Just like when people go to church, they have their prayer, you know. And you know, everybody has their own beliefs, and you know, and I was born in a Christian world, you know. But when I go to the ocean, you kind of like, you want to talk to them, and to make sure that everything is safe, not only for myself, but for everybody else in the ocean.
Right.
But it's you know, it's for him to guide and protect us from any changes, and I never miss. Even when sometimes I'm on a surfboard, I'm paddling out, and I just chanted myself, you know, chanted to myself, and then when you're done, you kind of feel comfortable, and you have that smile on your face that he's there.
Right.
Yeah, you know. So to get into that, it kind of be taught. It's either you got in your know and you believe it.
Mm-hmm.
It'd have to come into you somewhere on your lifetime. Even if it's the last day in life, it come into you, it'll come. If it's the day you was born, it'll be there. But somehow it gets to you. And how do you get it? For me, because I was fortunate to be around the right people. Mm-hmm. And when you're around the right people, you learn the right things, and they're very humble, they're very quiet, and they can tell you, and then you kind of believe it, and you start practicing it, and you practice until you know it. And when you practice, you can actually see the pictures in your mind as you're doing the chants. And I like that. I mean, there were times where, I got, you know, you feel nervous, but you feel the difference of it when you're in the water, you know.
Well, you said you see the pictures in your mind. What are you seeing in your mind?
No, when you do, I can see Mano, I can see Kohola, you see the He'e, you know, you see all the connection. You see the connection between on the pa is a connection with Lono and Kanaloa. There's a connection for land and him, and Kani, the water. They're all connected. Mm-hmm. So when you do these chants and you believe, and it's in your know, the picture's there, but you gotta believe. You really gotta believe and be deep, and sometimes. And you can just feel that wind, that little gust go by, and you just feel it. And but I said to get to that stage is a deep stage.
Well, I mean, there are people in the process that are learning, and again, I appreciate everything that's being shared. And even sitting here, we have all these papers that have so much knowledge about these sharks and the shark gods and the different names in the different districts. How does someone out there who doesn't know and they're Hawaiian and they want to find out how to get access to information like this?
Just go right on the internet. That's all you gotta do nowadays. Hey, I watch 5-6-year-olds now that they're on the internet.
Culture practitioner, internet.
That's it. That's all you have to do. Look up Mano, and it'll give you.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
Today is you can learn. I mean, you can learn the names, you can learn the history, you can learn how to respect. But to get really involved, it's a whole different level. That level is completely. It's a whole different level.
So there's a surface, and then there's a depth of the ocean.
That's right.
So you're down here.
Yeah,
I thought I'm still up here.
Yeah, Makovalu. I mean, you're deep. Yeah. So there's two, you know, and you can, you know, I've seen what guys tried, you know, out of towners, you know, they want to learn it, and they try, and they mean, you know, I mean, they have respect and they mean it, but the depth ain't there.
But the one thing that they do bring is the respect, and
yes,
I think that's what we've been trying to get across, is that respect for the Mano. And with everything that's happening in the news in the last year or two with shark incidents and leading to death with some people, that it's a very, very serious topic.
Yes.
And you know, we have Western scientists who are looking at it from their perspective. But we also
Yes.
have the Hawaiian perspective, and it's important that voice comes out because,
Yes.
you know, our kupuna were oceanographers, they were scientists, they were mathematicians, they were all these different things.
Yes.
So when we talk about them, they had cultural knowledge, but they had scientific knowledge too. And if we can marry those two together with the Western science, maybe we
Great.
can, yeah, I think it's going to be positive so it can,
You know, now that you brought that to mind, we made an agreement with Noah when I went to Papahanamoku care with them. And because, I mean, we talked about it, it was really much interesting. And so I talked to the kupuna and asked them, okay, this is my idea. And this is the only way I think it's going to happen. There's no way we can challenge these guys. These guys, they got all the resources we don't. If they have to cull any sharks because of the monk seal or the pups, that they do not bring anything back. They give it back to Kanaloa. They feed back to Mother Nature. Don't bring it home, because in the past they were bringing it back because people wanted to use it, you know, for study.
yeah.
Or, you know, I mean, they don't know any better.
Right.
You know, some people wanted to use it to make tools and make drums and so forth. So, you know, they weren't looking at what the counter really was for killing the, you know, you don't want to be killing
taking
a
that
shark.
life,
Yeah,
yeah.
taking someone's life, then you make a drum out of it. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
So that was good. I mean, so at least there was at least we got we together on that. Noah, I appreciate them. You know, we agreed, and not in writing. Hawaiians, we never made agreements by writing. Right there. You're honest. That's it. If it's in and out, and Noah, we shook hands on it. It's okay. So they ain't not supposed to bring back anything. If they have to call any mano, just respect and give it back to Kanaloa.
well, I think that's a great way to end
Yeah.
our conversation because
Yes.
we bring together these two different ideas and that respect that happened to those mano, those
Yeah.
sharks that we're taking in the Northern Hawaiian Islands, and to feed them back to Kanaloa.
Mm.
I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the conversation I had today with Leighton Tseu. It took me a while to figure out his name, Tseu. But thank you so much for being with us. Aloha.
Yeah. Aloha.